Okay, so I'm here today to talk to you about sort of my career path and how you can go into a career in STEM subjects and what sort of my vision of the future of like science and technology type careers looks like. So my background, I absolutely love chemistry. And one of the things that I wanted to do just to make sure everyone's awake and having a nice morning is I'm going to share with you a little fun chemistry fact. So did you know that bananas are radioactive?
No. Put your hand up if you know. Okay. A few people do that. Okay, fair enough.
So something that you will learn in your science classes, atoms exist as something called isotopes. So there's different forms of them containing different amounts of neutrons in the nucleus. And one type of potassium, potassium 40, is actually radioactive. So it's a tiny amount, 0.0177% of all of the potassium in the world, in the universe, is this radioactive potassium 40. Don't worry, we're not going to die from eating bananas. The human body is already a lot more radioactive than that because we have potassium in our bodies already. And we also have a load of radioactive carbon as well. So it's completely natural and it doesn't cause any problems. Now, before I kind of go on to the more serious stuff, I'd like to know from people in the room what sort of areas they're interested in when it comes to things like science and technology.
Adam, go for it. Okay, so we've got engineering from Adam.
Absolutely.
Amelia? Biology? Yeah, biology from Amelia.
Brilliant.
Leo? Organic chemistry from Leo.
Fab. That's where I'm based.
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry. We've got some people coming in. I can take two of you, but not three of. Oh no, I can take three of you. Yeah, there's one there, one there. I can only take three though. Okay, guys, quickly come in. We're in the meeting. We're in the meeting. Only three of you, and then I'm really sorry. The rest of you are going to have to go. So you guys, I'm so sorry. And then if you want to sit over there for me, what other types of science or STEM are people interested in? So we've had engineering, Isaac. Yeah, technology from Isaac. That's really good. Well done. Go for it. Astrology. Astrology. Okay, that's really cool. Yeah. And then I'll take one more from Boaz. Go for it. Chemistry. Chemistry. Excellent.
Wonderful. So, as I say, my background is in chemistry, and I got really interested in science when I saw The Blue Planet, the David Attenborough show. So I was quite young at the time, and seeing that on TV got me really interested in STEM subjects because it got me interested in biology with everything that they showed on the screen that had never been seen before, that they'd found at the bottom of the ocean. It got me involved with chemistry because you need to understand more about those environments and how they live and what is going on down there. It got me interested in technology because of all the cameras that they're using and how on earth they manage to do everything that they're doing. So I pursued a career in STEM, I guess you could say, from that point. Now, I was probably only sort of 6 or 7, and I wasn't actively pursuing it, but just keeping an interest in what's going on and looking at the world around you is actually a really good base point to start from. I also had a fantastic chemistry teacher in school. So he was a bit off the wall. He actually had a glass eye, and his kind of party trick was he used to enjoy taking that out during class and having it stare at us from the desk, which could be a little bit unnerving, but it was always good fun. So I went through my GCSEs. I did the full kind of set of chemistry, biology, physics, maths, and I kept chemistry, biology, and maths on to A level. And then I went to the University of York to study for a chemistry degree. I ended up dropping out of that actually because just the method of teaching wasn't quite right for me, and then I had a little bit of an illness. So I was like, okay, time to reset. A lot of people think of STEM careers as, oh, you've got to be the most qualified person in the room. To my mind, you've got to be the most interested person in the room, because if you're interested in the subject, you're going to be asking the right questions, and questions are everything that science and technology is about. If there's a question to ask, it means that there's some value to be gained, whether it's to us personally or even with the massive questions to society as a whole. So I started working at Orbia Polymer Solutions Group in March 2017 as a lab technician. That can be quite a big, scary sort of name as a job. And it can mean an awful lot of things. So it might mean people who are working in your school who are helping to facilitate science classes by kind of making up solutions for chemistry, or making sure equipment is available for physics or biology. And that kind of scales through universities and into industry like I am. So what do I do? Well, I always like describing my jobs as I pull things apart and burn them for a living, right? That's great fun. So what you can see on the screen is a standard for one of the tests for measuring how strong plastics are. And the other picture is a couple of bits of plastic that have been burned to test how fire resistant they are and how much smoke they give off. So those properties are really important to me because I make and test plastics.
Sorry, Tom, can I just check that the screen is on the right slide? So right now we can see careers in STEM.
Oh. Sorry, I think it must have gone off.
Yep, so now we can see the burnt materials.
Oh, it's gone all the way back to the beginning. Sorry, technology issues. Can you see the burnt materials now?
We can see the burnt materials, yes. If you can see the burnt materials on the screen, everybody, do you want to raise your hands? Can we get a whoop whoop? Yep, okay, they can see it.
Brilliant. Sorry, so, right. To me, what I do in my day-to-day, I make samples of plastics and then test them. So I do kind of things like the burning that you see on screen. That's really important to me because my job is to make sure that people are safe in everyday life. So plastics, and particularly the area that I work in, which is wires and cables, go into everything. So whether that be like your computer charging cable, whether that be your cable at the back of your fridge, things that you can see, or whether that be telephone lines, power cables that run through and around everything and just make the whole system work. They all need plastic around the outside of them to make them efficient and effective. So there's a lot of plastic in buildings, which is obviously not very good if you're in a situation, say, where there's a fire, because plastic emits a lot of toxic smoke. So the company that I work for tries to make plastic with lower smoke emissions and lower toxicity, so that if you ever got caught in a fire, you'd have more time to get out and hopefully the fire wouldn't do as much damage. So as a lab technician, I interact with all kinds of people. I actually work in a factory, so I interact with the guys on the shop floor. I interact with customer services and sales. I interact with everybody across the whole organization, which is fantastic because it means that no 2 days are the same and I can move about between departments. It gives me a lot of freedom and it means that I never get bored. So does anybody have any questions about where I work and what I do?
So just to repeat that, does anybody have any questions at all so far about maybe what a day-to-day life might look like, or any questions about, I know a lot of you in the past have been intrigued about how much people can earn or how many hours people work in a day. Would anyone maybe want to ask a similar question that look like that? No? Well, then maybe I've got a question. Sorry, Tom, I've got a question.
Absolutely.
You said that every day is different.
Yes.
In terms of your hours in a day, what would you say is your typical, start time, and what is your typical end time?
So where I work, we operate 24/7 as a site. So there are people, on site making the machines run 24/7. I am in normally Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. So I work a kind of traditional hours. I do odd hours outside of that as overtime, or if I'm a specialist on a particular machine, a particular test, sometimes I might get called in if we need to do something urgent. But generally, I'm working 9 till 5.
Excellent. And how many years for you do you think it might take to get into the position that you've got? So I know you spoke about having a degree, and obviously there's lots and lots of different careers in STEM that might
Absolutely.
or might not have a degree. But for your particular position, how many years would you say it's got to your point where you are at the minute?
So I didn't actually complete my degree. I left university without getting a degree because it just wasn't right for me. So when I came back home, I actually got the job that I'm still in now. So I got my job with A levels. Anybody can find a way into the industry, and I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about this in a minute, with A levels. So as long as you complete school, and to be honest, T levels look just as good as A levels or BTECs, anything on that level, as they call them, level 3 qualifications, you can certainly get into a career in STEM.
I think that's really useful for the pupils here to know, because I know a lot of them are maybe, a little bit young to think about university, but I know a lot of them might be thinking about going, but I know there's still a lot of people here at Y School who perhaps don't want to go to university. So it's good to see that you can still do a job that you really enjoy and really aspire to do and want to do. And perhaps even if that traditional route isn't for you as well. So thanks.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about that actually, because in 2021, I started a degree apprenticeship at the University of Nottingham studying chemistry and business. So I've kind of gone through all the different routes in terms of I've gone into work as somebody without a degree with like A-level qualifications. I've tried the traditional university route, and I'm also just entering into my final year of my degree apprenticeship. So I still work full time, but actually I study as well 1 day a week. And I find it really fulfilling, and it really suits the way that I learn. I would say there's definite advantages to doing all different routes. If you want something that's kind of grounded, absolutely go into a job that suits you. If you want something that's going to stretch you beyond that and that can maybe give you more qualifications, an apprenticeship is an amazing route to choose, because you still get paid. You have a career and you're picking up all of your professional skills that you're going to use through the rest of your career at the same time as you're studying and gaining those extra qualifications. Or you choose a university route, and the experience was amazing. I gained lifelong friends and contacts that I still regularly keep in touch with. It's great for loads of different reasons. It just didn't suit me. And then after starting my apprenticeship, I joined an organization called the Science Apprenticeship Forum. So we support and encourage science apprentices from level 3, which is the equivalent of like your A levels. So you can do a level 3 apprenticeship, all the way up to level 7, which is master's degree level. So we're actually hosting our 3rd annual conference tomorrow in Coventry. So I've been very busy over the last couple of weeks trying to prepare for that. But yeah, so in terms of the way that I see STEM careers as well, I sort of break it down into 3 topic areas. So you've got industry, which is where I work, where you're working for a company, you're making things, you're selling things, you're in a business. There's the university route, the academic route, where you probably go to university, you then keep studying, and maybe you become a professor, or you're doing research that's very new, very different, very off the top of your head. And then thirdly, there's the sort of policy route. So whether that's regulation and keeping people safe, and maybe doing health and safety, maybe doing teaching, but ways to make sure that other people know everything they need about STEM. So does anybody have any questions on that?
No, I don't think they've got any questions, but I actually want to talk a little bit more about your apprenticeship that you've done. I don't think that
Certainly.
people know a lot about that so far. So you've got the traditional route, or one of the many traditional routes, which is university.
Mhm.
Actually, an apprenticeship that gives you, and I assume yours gives you a degree at the end. Is that right, Tom?
Yes, so I'm doing what's called a level 6 apprenticeship. So I will get a degree as part of my finishing the course. I work full time, but I also study 1 day a week. So I'm actually doing the same sort of course that the straight undergraduate pathway is doing, but it means that I have a lot more kind of practical, hands-on understanding of how the science that you're learning then impacts the real world. So things that I learn through the degree apprenticeship, I can then apply at work, and it gives me a lot more appreciation of why I'm learning things. So it's the classic thing of like, oh, you sat in maths and maybe you don't really enjoy maths, and it's like, well, why am I learning trigonometry? I'm never going to use it again. But actually having that embedding of the practical skills to do the job, and you're learning that, and you're learning things that can improve the job, and you're involved in it the whole time, I personally find really rewarding.
That sounds fantastic. Leo, go for it.
Could you please explain to me the different levels of qualification?
Okay, that's fine. If Tom isn't able to do this, I can do this for you at the end, but that should be fine. Tom, can you just explain quickly to the class? So you talked about level 6.
Mm-hmm.
What then is the difference between, say, level 6, level 5, and level 4?
Absolutely. So level 3 is you sort of A levels, B techs, T levels. Level 4, you have B techs, you have some apprenticeships, you have what's called a certificate of higher education. So it's kind of a bit more complex. It's foundation degrees, I believe, a level 5, going into your sort of more involved, slightly longer form courses. Level 6 is degrees. So at the end of my course, I will have a bachelor's degree, which is the same as if you go to university and you study an undergraduate degree. And then level 7 is a master's degree. So that's a postgraduate study.
That's fantastic. And can I just ask one more question about your apprenticeship as well?
Absolutely.
So although, like you said, you are working full time, you are getting paid.
Yes.
Do you have to pay for your level 6 whatsoever?
Absolutely. So I don't contribute anything. So there's something called the apprenticeship levy, which all businesses pay to the government, and they're then able to draw back money from that if they're training people. So the idea is that it makes businesses invest in their workforce rather than just plucking people with skills already, say from abroad, or recruiting in people. They want businesses to train people. So I don't pay a penny.
Thank you so much. And then I've just got one more question. Go for it.
So with like the previous stuff you're saying about like whether you go for apprenticeship or go to uni, what would be better if you were to become a scientist or stuff like that?
I don't know if you caught that question, so I'm just going to quickly repeat it. So all the different paths that you've spoken about, what would you personally recommend? So one of the people's asked, is it better to do an apprenticeship? Is it better to do a degree? Or is it perhaps more personal?
I think there's definitely the personal aspect in there. So the advantage of going to university is you've got 3 years to meet people, to get new ideas, to really explore what you want to do. And a science degree from a university gives you a lot of freedom. So I know people who've gone into patent law. I know people who've gone into science careers at universities. I know people who are doing data science, but actually they all went to the same university and did the same degree. So it gives you a lot of freedom as to where you want to go with it. If you do an apprenticeship, obviously you're in with a business, which means absolutely fantastic. Maybe you've got a bit more of a plan for the future and a solid grounding to work from. But it does mean that you're into that path. So I'd say if it's something that you think, oh, I'd really like to try that, I want to get on board and go for it, an apprenticeship is brilliant because it has that extra solidity of working and studying and being able to understand everything that's going on. If you don't really feel like you know what you want to do, a degree is maybe the path, because it gives you those years, that time to kind of figure out what you want to do a bit more.
That sounds great. Thank you so much. That's brilliant.
Wonderful. So in terms of how I see the future of STEM and jobs that are going to be around in the industry in the future, a big one at the moment is data centers. So for me, this is absolutely great. You know, I work for a company that makes plastic for wires and cables. Data centers require an awful lot of wires and cables. So we're making quite a bit of profit in this area at the moment. And it's really the growth of AI and cloud computing that means we need lots of data scientists, but actually we need all of those physical items to back it up as well. So we need people working in industry to make, you know, safe and efficient technology to go into these data centers. Sustainability is a massive watchword across every industry at the moment. So I've included a picture there. I don't know if you might have seen it before, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And a lot of these are relevant to what we do on a day-to-day basis. So for me, I work a lot trying to design environmentally conscious products. So whether that be using renewable content, or you can actually grow plastic. So if you ferment vegetable material and turn it into ethanol, you can then dehydrate that and turn it into polyethylene as a plastic, which is absolutely brilliant because it can reduce the carbon footprint. There is a lot to think about in terms of how we approach all of that in the future. And so sustainability related biology and chemistry roles will absolutely be vital in the future. The third area, and something you might not have thought about, is sport. So there is so much STEM in sport, whether that be biomechanics of how athletes' bodies work, whether that be maths. I mean, there was an international cricket match last night, and there's a mathematical formula called Duckworth-Lewis-Stern, which governs what happens if the number of overs in a cricket match gets reduced. There are so many ways that STEM is integrated into sport. I'm not really going to touch on VAR because it's a little bit of a touchy subject. But that technology and those skills will always be useful and are only going to grow.